Hey everybody, hey guys. I got a couple videos for you today, and we're going to talk about regrinds and something to stay away from. Well, it's going to be kind of a little bit of a story. First thing I want to let you guys know, if you're in the stump grinding business, tree service, be very wary of regrinds. It's kind of okay maybe if it's your own or you miss something, but if you're regrinding something that someone else has ground, you're usually going to end up into a problem. We had a similar situation today. I was in Orange Park Country Club, and a couple days ago, last week, customer called, asked me if I could come out, said he had a few stumps to grind, and when I went out there, the whole yard was tore up, and he said he was resodding and he needed just a few stumps to grind. We walked around, and there was just a couple little stumps sticking up, like pieces of stump. And I told him, I said, listen, I don't know who was here before, but sometimes when you get into these stumps, you start grinding into them, they end up being humongous. So I gave him a price, and I said, if we go past that point, we're going to have to stop and renegotiate. Well, we went out there today, and sure enough, we started grinding into these stumps, and these stumps were humongous. They were basically the entire yard. And also, too, the irrigation and the main water line was through a stump. So we decided to grind that one last. And sure enough, we hit the water line, and it was almost impossible. We had to grind and chisel and saw into the wood because the main line was a tree grew around it. So, of course, then after we were almost completely done, the customer told me, yeah, I had 4 or 5 stump grinder guys out here, and none of them did a good job. Well, if you know what you're getting into, you could better bring the right equipment to do the job. So he still has a lot of stump grinding to do, but he basically neglected to tell me that he covered all the stumps up and all the roots up with dirt when I came out, so I was unable to see how big the stumps were. So I knew they were pretty big, but I had no idea the entire front yard was basically a big stump and root. So, of course, I had a medium-sized grinder. I didn't have my monster grinder, and he wasn't willing to pay for the job to be done right. So I'm going to have to refer him to someone else because I'm not going to take my grinder and ruin it for nothing. So he basically needs like at least a 70 horse or 100 plus horse grinder, maybe even 2, to come in there and grind the entire front yard out. And also, 2, they need to disconnect the water meter, the main line, and completely rerun it, because right now it's just under the sod. It's only about 2 inches below the grass. So whoever ran it the first 2 or 3 times they set it right on top of the stump, right on top of the roots. So basically, as soon as you start grinding, you hit the water main. So anyway, if you guys are in the stump grinding business, in the tree service, any way you grind stumps, please be aware or beware of regrinds, because a lot of these guys will come out, they'll grind the top off of stumps, and they'll leave, and then by the time you dig the mulch out, the actual stump, the bottom of the stump, which is like anywhere from 2 or 3 to 10 times bigger than what they ground, is going to be there for you. And the customer is not going to want to pay anything because he already paid the first company to do it. Also, too, when you grind the top of the stump off, it's 10 times harder to get the stump out, because when you put your stump grinder down, you can't get underneath it, and your stump grinder just bounces, and it just throws stuff everywhere, and it throws it at you, throws it at the house, whatever's around is going to get pelted by grindings. So probably the best thing to do is avoid regrinds. Sometimes you get lucky and it's just a small stump, but normally it's going to be a big monster stump that nobody wanted to spend the time to grind, and usually the top's going to be ground off, and you're not going to be able to get the right angle to attack it. So you're going to be out there all day and not make any money, and probably, who knows, break something, because it's going to be slinging stuff everywhere, and you're going to have tons of cleanup. And the customer's not going to be happy because they already went to 2 or 3 or 4 people, and nobody can grind the stump, and nobody has a big enough grinder, and nobody wants to spend the time to do it because the customer doesn't want to pay what it's worth, and it's just frustrating all the way around. It's a lose-lose situation. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's just something that you probably want to avoid. It's not worth the hassle. It's basically just going to give you a bad review, and that's one of the customers that it's going to be almost impossible to please. So your best bet just to avoid that situation altogether. So anyway, this is Roger with Roger's Reviews and Tree Life Tree Service on some tips to keep the hassle and the frustration out of your life and your business. So have a great day, and God bless.